Okay, what's good, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Saw a few comments in here. Barry's in here. He may be joining us later. Direct Tech in the building. It's not feeling well, so wish you the best, man. Hope you feel better soon. Apparently, there's
What's
some.
going on, everybody?
Yeah, and I got my boy Android Digest in the building.
What's good, everybody? Good. Well, I don't really see a lot of people, obviously, but people are going to be hopping on, and I'll be reading some of these comments here. So,
Yep, met this guy on Twitter some months ago, and then he finally reached out, said he wants to hop on the live stream with us, so we're gonna do it.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
And he helped me get the Fossil Gen 6. So when you guys see that on my channel, 100% and just right there.
That's right. Hey, I've got some more Gen 6s. So, if you're looking for a Gen 6 and you're interested, specifically if you're in the US, I had a 50% off promo code, and I really decided to hold on to it till Black Friday. It was on my entire order. So I thought, why not just order a whole bunch of them, and then I could sort of split the profit I make off it. So let's say I know it was like 210 or something. I buy it for half off, and then I split the difference so that you might get it for like 170 or something, and I make a little bit, you make a little bit, and I take advantage of that code I got. So feel free to reach out if you're interested. So
Yeah, it's a great deal, great deal. So definitely hop on that. You could definitely hop in his Twitter DMs. It's at Android Digest, right?
yeah, actually, at Digest Android, someone took Android Digest. Haven't
Okay,
posted in a long time, but so yeah, Digest Android.
I got you. I got you. So yeah, let's hit some more of these comments. What's up, Lewis? Tech for your needs. Hope you're doing well tonight. And Raymond Williams in the building. So yeah, got all these comments out the way. So what will you be working on the next month or so? Can I get your first name again? I'm sorry. Or do you
Oh,
want?
my name, yeah. Oh, I'm Zach. So
Gotcha.
yeah. So my channel is going to be working on a few different things. So I've got a TCL. The maybe you've seen a lot of people get it. The TCL tab. It's a 5G tab with Verizon. So I'm going to be reviewing that. My channel really took off a lot with Android tablets because a lot of channels you're looking for a different niche, and for me, Android tablets is a big niche because honestly, not a lot of people talk about it, especially all the bigger channels. You're not going to see someone like MKBHD or someone talking about Android tablets. And my first video was on an Android tablet. It was an awful video, but it's got like 300,000 views. It's like crazy. So it was my first video I ever did. And it really just brought me into that niche. So something that I've really been really working on. So I do a lot of mid-range phones, a lot of Android phones. I
Mhm.
also work with things like Chromebook tablets. So I'm
Yeah.
really working on all things Android, but primarily mid-range phones, some higher-end phones, but a lot of mid-range phones, and a lot of things that would appeal to someone who maybe has $300 to $600 and they're looking for a tablet or something like that. So I'll be covering all the Samsung tablets. So I
Mhm.
think the Tab A8 is coming out
Oh,
eventually. I'm
yeah.
gonna be doing this TCL tablet here. I've got the Tab S7 FE. I've got that as well. And if I get a little bit of time, I'm going to do the Galaxy Watch 4 and compare it to the Fossil Gen 6 as well. So those
Yeah.
are a few things on my docket. And I have a video releasing maybe in a day or two on the Pixel 6 versus the Pixel 6 Pro.
Okay.
And I'm basically going to make an argument that, hey, if you are looking to be a reasonable consumer, you should probably just get the Pixel 6. And that's really just talking about the regular consumers out there. If you're a techie, always buy the 6 Pro because you're going to want the best all the time. But for your average person, I just argue for the value for the regular Google Pixel 6 and not comparing to a whole bunch of other. I talk some trash sometimes on Apple and stuff like that
Yeah.
on my channel. Not really on my channel, on Twitter, but on my actual channel, I realize that iPhones are amazing. Apple makes a lot of great products, right? And
Mhm.
it's really dumb for me to compare Android to Apple. It literally is apples to oranges in that sense. So
Mhm.
I really just focus on Android, trying to help people find a great deal. So
So yeah.
that's something that I really look to do on my channel. So Twitter's different. I just share my opinions about whatever. But
Mhm.
Practically, I'm really just trying to help people save some money and get a good deal on tech. So
Okay, so yeah, I just want you to hit this question really quickly from Patar from Direct Tech. Would you consider the Xiaomi Pad 5?
So for me, this is a little different because uh, I I personally have struggled with Android tablets that don't have really good software support, and also that are just hard to come by in the U.S. Something like that's just difficult to find in the U.S.
Mhm.
compared to other tablets. So really, I try to focus a little more personally on Samsung tablets, but also on Lenovo tablets as well. They're things that are readily available, things that I can easily get my hands on, things that you can get at Best Buy, things that an average consumer will buy. If I review something like that, it's going to be more of a niche audience that people like. You don't go to Best Buy and say, I'm going to buy a Xiaomi Pad 5. It's just not something you do. Or you're not like, oh, I'm going to go to Amazon. Your average consumer just doesn't even know they exist, right? So I'm really trying to look out for them and trying to help them find the best deal. And I will, if there's a niche product out there that's really good, I will say that tablet looks great. I mean, it's got a great processor. It's got great specs overall. It's got a fantastic screen. It's got a good battery. So it's going to be a phenomenal tablet. Don't get me wrong. And if it drops at a good price, there's no question you should consider buying it if you're someone who just wants a good
Yeah.
Android tablet. So
Uh,
it's not saying that. I mean, I would consider it in that sense. But for me, as stupid as it is, this makes no logical sense whatsoever, but I do have some of those security concerns that get in the back of my mind when it comes to some of these companies like Huawei and stuff like that.
yeah.
And then I'm like, do I really want to go there? And it doesn't make a lot of logical sense because a lot of these companies are manufactured in the middle of nowhere anyway. I mean, there's still security risks everywhere. And tablets like Lenovo tablets get like 3 updates a year. So you're
Okay.
sort of getting your own security risks when you don't have a lot of good tablet updates.
So yeah.
So I would. So in reality, I know it's not as logical. I know it shouldn't bother me like it does, but they are hard to come by. Unless
Mhm.
I mean, I get you go to Amazon or something, but it's a little bit harder to come by for your average consumer that might not be looking for it. And for
Yeah.
me, as a techie, I think Samsung. I'll quickly say this: one of the biggest problems with Android tablets has been things like if you want to open the Best Buy app on your Android tablet, it will literally flip to portrait mode. So you've got your keyboard case on and you've got it in landscape and it will flip to portrait mode. Now, Samsung has apps like the Good Lock app, and that app can actually force it to be in landscape mode. It's a good workaround. But a lot of these other tablets out there from these other companies, they still haven't built workarounds for things like that. And I'm sure there's ways to download them or something. But for me, Samsung does such a good job that if I'm practically looking for a tablet, I know I have a little bit of a discount I can get on Samsung tablets.
Okay.
The Tab S7 Plus, believe it or not, it was $350, a 1 day only sale. Like I don't know, it was a few months ago. Right now
Mhm.
it's like 600 on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. I mean, these aren't the good deals like they say. So a lot of these deals, what I'm saying is I can get a great Samsung tablet at a great deal. I can get multiple years of software support and I can get those little workarounds for software. So I prefer Samsung if it's just the best tablet I want to get. And I know personally I can get a great deal. But prices go up and down all the time, right? So I would recommend the Xiaomi Pad. I never pronounce it right, but I would recommend them 9 times out of 10 for that tablet because it is a nice tablet with a nice screen and good specs. So
So yeah, I'm like really curious about like the Xiaomi software on the tablet because I feel like right now anyway, stock Android like isn't too good for tablets because with the tablet you like really want as many features as you can get. I think that's why Samsung is like selling so well here because they have like so many features like specifically for tablets compared to like a Lenovo tablet that's like almost stock in tablets like that. But yeah, before we talk some more, I just want to get my guy Barry in here. Speaking of Xiaomi,
Hey, what's up, guys?
yeah,
what's going on, Barry?
Oh, nothing much, nothing much.
See, Barry's my hero, by the way. I heard Barry talking all this stuff about the Pixel 6, man, and I'm like, Barry, Barry knows what he's talking about. So what's
Hey
up,
man,
Barry?
appreciate it. Doing well. Can't
So
complain.
you got the Pixel 6 Pro and the Pixel 6, right?
Yeah, and the Pixel 6, yeah.
Yeah.
And I watched Mr. Who's the Boss video, and even like his alternate picks are right in line with what I'm like. If it was up to me, I would have a Mi 11 Ultra. But I had already got the Mi 11, which I love, and I have a OnePlus 9. So I'm like, okay, I got the wide angle that's in the Mi 11 Ultra, that's in the OnePlus 9. That's my favorite wide angle of the year. So I was pretty excited about his because I was like, man, this is kind of lining up to what I was kind of thinking, and it's been pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. So yeah, the first topic that I want to cover real quick. Let me share my screen. So this thing right here, a lot of people know I'm a smartwatch guy,
Yes.
and I know Android Digest is a huge smartwatch guy as
Mhm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
I know Barry this is something Barry's like looking into currently, right, Barry?
Yes, I am.
Barry kind of wants to like hop in the wearable market too. So
Mhm.
a few weeks ago, actually, Motorola announced the Moto Watch 100. I believe it's up for pre-sale right now, and it's only $100. And personally, why I think it's like such a good watch is because it does have inbuilt GPS. Like I had to like they didn't advertise it like on their website much, but having inbuilt GPS at $100 is a massive deal for smartwatches. Like the
Mhm.
cheapest that I could think of, like from a good brand, is probably like an Amazfit watch at probably like 120 or something like that.
Mhm.
Motorola is like undercutting everybody with inbuilt GPS in their latest Moto 100 smartwatch.
Yes.
And I mean, honestly, it looks pretty nice too.
Mhm.
And I think like the specs just like really add up to that price. So hopefully that watch performs well. I want to get to Android Digest. What do you think about that watch so far? Have you got to see it at all?
Yeah, so I haven't looked at it a ton. I will say I'm optimistic, but you really have to think about what's out there and what we're looking for. So you've got Fitbit, and
Mhm.
Fitbit's thing, they work with Android and iOS. Fitbit focuses primarily on battery life. You get like 5 days battery life out of a Fitbit, and it's just insane, right? And
Yep.
that's because you don't have all this extra stuff going on. I mean, it focuses primarily on fitness stuff, but you get about 5 days of battery life. And then you go to Wear OS, which might get 1 to 2 days, sometimes 3 days if you get the right watch. But you'll be looking at 1 to 3 days, but you'll get a little more features in there. Like it's just going to look nicer on your wrist. It's going to have that nice circular look. Well, now this is bringing that circular look that I saw in the OnePlus watch, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just
Mhm.
incredible
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
that price. I was like 160. If you give me a watch that looks good for 160 with those that nice battery life, I was gonna say, if you get really good battery life out of a watch like that, that can have some basic good functionality. It doesn't have to have like the best functionality in the world, right? It's
Right.
$160, but for me, it has to have really, really good functionality and at least have that really good battery life because that's the thing that kills me with Wear OS. And I have the Galaxy Watch 4 on right now. I know I get about 2 days with the screen off on it,
Yeah.
and you can get a Galaxy Watch 4 right now for like $180 to $200, right?
Correct.
It's
Yeah.
just insane. So to go down to $100, at least right now with the market the way it is, I'm sure this will go back up, but you're still going to be looking between $200 and $300 for a really good Wear OS watch. So for me to go down, I have to have another benefit, right? And if it does give really good battery life and it can do better than the OnePlus watch, the OnePlus watch had awful software. I know you,
Mhm.
Galen, had some issues with it. Like there were some issues for sure, right? So if you have issues with it like that, then no, it's going to have some trashy issues and it's going to be bad. Then no, it's not going to be worth the money. But if you can get a watch that is like the OnePlus watch, but doesn't have all those software bugs up front, and it just works well and it has great battery life, it's okay for it to miss a few features. But if it does hit that at that price point, it's going to be very competitive.
Yeah, I agree as well. This one is expected to have 14 days, so
Yeah, battery life.
it'd be crazy there.
Yeah.
Insane.
Me and Barry actually talked about this on stream like a few weeks ago. Like the major difference between like Wear OS watches and like the less powered watches like this with less features is like the notification system. So you'll be able to respond on Wear OS and interact with your notifications better. But everyone doesn't do that on their watch.
Yeah.
I struggle a lot
Yeah.
with like just like figuring out like, do I really need notification access on my wrist? Because I pull out my phone usually like when I check
Yeah.
on my watch. So yeah, that's like really what differentiates the battery life is that notification access and probably the third party apps and things too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested. I got to see where, because I also take a note of what the pricing on the Galaxy Watch 4 is right now. But basically, what I want to be able to do is I don't ever really want, unless it's an emergency, to ever have to take my work phone out of my pocket. So that's typically just used only for Microsoft Teams, only for Outlook.
Yeah.
So I would like notification on my watch so I don't have to take it out of my pocket. All my other calls are routed through my personal phone that I take out, and that way if I'm at a client, I can just look at my watch and not, oh, I'm going to grab my phone. So yeah, I'm interested in this watch. It's going to be between this and the Galaxy Watch for me.
Yeah, I'm interested to see like what Motorola does with their software because that's like
Yes.
the biggest like set off for me with like all of these watches like at this price. Like I really like Amazfit software a lot and like Xiaomi watches. I like their software a lot. Just curious to see like what Motorola does with it because like the OnePlus watch didn't have many software features
Yes.
like on their watch.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You have to have at least enough software features, but that battery life's got to be good, and you can't just have all this glitchy stuff. It just
Correct.
can't be like that. And at $100, a lot of times there's glitchy stuff that just causes all type of issues. And yeah, that's just not cool. I mean, you didn't even get a US version of the OnePlus watch, right?
What'd you say?
Didn't you have an issue where you didn't even get like a US watch? Wasn't it like
Yeah,
non-US firmware?
So yeah, I bought the watch and it wasn't on US firmware and I bought it directly from OnePlus 2. So they sent me like a Chinese ROM device and of course it didn't work with my phone at the time, so I had to flash it to the US ROM and then I got it to work after all of that flashing, which I shouldn't have to do.
No, you shouldn't have to do that.
But yeah, let's get to Jason C's. Is Google going to leave Fitbit alone or are they moving it towards Wear OS? Honestly, I think they will. I think the Pixel Watch will have like the Fitbit's like fitness tracking features. Um, and they'll probably integrate with the Fitbit app because a lot of people do not like the Google Fit app. I personally like the Google Fit app a lot, but a lot of people prefer the Fitbit compatibility app. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. I know you're a huge Wear OS guy. What do you think about that Android Digest, Zach?
Yeah, for me, I would say I just don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, Jason, you're like the rumor guy on Twitter, okay? You should know all this stuff.
That's
You're in
funny.
the
Yeah.
know. But I would say I'm not sure. I think they probably don't even know. They seem to be stringing Fitbit along right now and just bringing them along for the ride. I'm
Yeah.
guessing they're gonna take some of those Fitbit features and just throw them into Wear OS. And I'm guessing that's gonna happen, but they might still keep these Fitbit watches alive because a lot of people like them. They're used to them. They're used to that brand name. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do both, if they bring some of those Fitbit software features into Wear OS, but then if they also keep some of those Fitbit smartwatches alive and keep those Fitbit bands alive, because a lot of people see that name and it does have a little bit of the segment of smartwatches out there. I do see a lot of people in hospitals just wearing Fitbits. It seems to be a normal thing. My parents have Fitbits. It's just something they seem to buy. So a lot of those people aren't going to just switch to Wear OS. It's just not going to happen. So
Yeah.
I think they might string them along for a little bit.
Yeah, it's also interesting. Fitbit is like one of the only companies outside of Google to support Google Assistant, right? I know their premium watches support Google Assistant, like the
Yeah, now they do. They
yeah,
used to not, but things changed over time. Once Google bought them, they started to support Google Assistant, which is interesting because that's one of the negatives for the Galaxy Watch 4. So if you're
Yeah,
looking
it
right
still doesn't
now,
have. Yeah, it still
still
doesn't
has to
have Google
support it.
Assistant.
yeah, so that's a huge thing. If you're out there and you're like, okay, you have the Fossil Gen 6 out there and it's at a similar price point. The Fossil Gen 6 is heavier, it doesn't have wireless charging. So there are some real negatives with that, and it has a little bit worse battery, but on the other end, it does have faster charging, and now you also get Google Assistant. No, you won't get the new software, so that's another thing. At least not right now. You will later, but at the same time, Google Assistant is a huge deal. I'm not using Bixby for anything, okay? Bixby is
Mhm.
trash in my opinion. I
Yeah,
know some
same with
people
me.
like it
I
for
know
some
people like
things.
I can't use
So
for anything.
so
Siri
I
and
I
Bixby now.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would use Google Assistant to like set a reminder, set an
Mhm.
alarm, and I found myself with my Galaxy Watch just not using Google Assistant like I used to. And that's a big negative in the long scheme of things, right? So on the other end, when I had my Galaxy Watch 4 and I sort of got stuck in a weird hotel room situation where I had a big issue with my car. I sort of canceled the car deal. They canceled it out for me. But I had to get a new car, and I was stuck where I was without a car. I was hours away from my house. So I had to stay in a hotel room, and I didn't have my watch charger with me. Well,
Mhm.
Galaxy Watch 4 just reverse wireless charge. You could just wirelessly
Oh,
charge
that's
it
pretty
on your
cool.
phone. So that's a huge thing
That's
since it
huge.
does have wireless charging, you can wirelessly charge it wherever you're at just with your Android phone. So when you think about that, that's the one time that wireless charging comes in handy. If you're in a weird situation like that, you're
Yeah,
going on an airplane or something and
Mhm.
you're up in the air and oop, forgot my charger, or I'm on vacation, forgot. I mean, who thinks about a watch charger when you go on vacation? You just don't
Yeah, you
think
don't.
about it quite like you do your phone. So that's a huge thing. So I get it, but without Google Assistant, that could
Yeah.
really even the odds for someone thinking about another watch. And with the Motorola watch out there, that could be very appealing. And if you do get Google Assistant on a Fitbit, again, that's very appealing as well when you get 5 days battery life and you get Google Assistant. So that's
Mhm.
something I really think Galaxy Watch needs to work on.
yeah, for sure, 100%. I hope they do that like in the next few months or so. The OnePlus Watch just lacked on so many. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the
Yeah.
OnePlus Watch, they kind of shot themselves in the foot because they sent this watch to reviewers with like unfinished software. Like, I will
Yeah.
say, like, over time, the OnePlus Watch like got really
Got
good
better. Yeah.
with like software updates and things. Like they added Spotify support, they added Google Maps support. It was like they added some really cool software things
Yeah.
eventually, but they shot themselves in the foot at
Yeah.
launch.
They should have just delayed that product. Yeah. It was. I saw one reviewer that was up front and said, forget who she wrote for, but she made the comment that OnePlus told her about how what the status of the, basically it's going to be hard for her to review this product. I'm like, well, why are
Right.
you sending it to people
Right.
right now?
Yeah, they really should have delayed that, and that would have
Yes.
really helped
And
the
now that's the
reception. But
that's the issue that I have with OnePlus. OnePlus has a lot of good stuff that happened with the 9 series. And who is asleep at the wheel that doesn't see that there are entities, let's say, that are willing to pounce, to destroy your company, basically. And I'm not saying that reviewers have to they have to lie, they have to sugarcoat or anything like that. But when you're not Sam Apple, you need to be careful. When there's things that you need to do, because when it gets into these hands, the only thing that you're going to get is this negative press. And I think they learned last year that there are times where companies will say, oh, negative press is good. Well, didn't seem very good for you guys, with all the stuff that kept coming out during the year. So
yeah, that's a really big issue because I really saw a lot of the negativity on OnePlus, and this was
mhm,
like about a year ago. And I'm a big, big reviewer who, again, I'm looking for deals for people. That's what I do. So
correct.
I'm
Right.
someone who's looking to help people out, help them find a good deal for
Yes.
themselves. So to me, one of the best deals out was the OnePlus 8 at the time. because about 6 months ago or so, I got it for like $300. You get
Yep,
the latest
same.
Snapdragon, 120 hertz. You get all this stuff. I get the OnePlus 8 in, and some person had issues. I'm like, like I'm sure you're just tripping, and I get it. And my phone just shuts off and turns back on multiple times a day, at least 2 to 3 times a day.
Mhm.
And I look online on Reddit, and it's almost everyone having issues like that, right? And the difference is Google, okay, I get it. Android 12 just came out. Well, this isn't a Google thing, it's Android 12 issue. That's with every phone if you're talking about the Pixel 6.
Yeah,
That's something that if anyone gets Android 12 today, they were probably going to experience those issues. I'm guessing a lot of
correct.
them are
I
app
have the S. I
related.
have the S. I have the yes. I have the S21. I even went back to some of the people. Like I literally had people on Twitter. Oh, I don't see your videos because they're the guys that were just posting videos like crazy, and I'm like, dude, it's obvious an app thing. So they're like, I don't have a Twitter issue. The Twitter issue was if you scroll slowly, you'll see it kind of hiccup, like you're dragging something behind it, right?
Yeah.
So they'll send me a video like, oh, I don't have it. That must just be your phone. And they're just like going as fast as possible on I go, that's not the issue. We've talked about this. Gone back and I'm like, let me boot up my phone and I take a video of it. Oh, I'm sorry, you're having issue. I'm like, no, every person that has Android 12 and the Twitter app is gonna have this issue,
Mhm.
Right.
It's the
It seems
developer.
Yeah, it seems
So
app related because once they update their apps to work better with
yes,
Android 12, I think
right.
some of these things are going to work a little bit better. So
Yeah. And the guy,
that's
like, and you
something.
can ask Pitar, the guy just released an iOS app. On my iOS, I don't have Twitter. But he was talking about how he actually did a video how it's starting to stutter now on, the guy is asleep at the wheel right now, that's doing the Twitter app. It's like, so
Yeah, exactly. So I keep that in mind. So when I think of I was saying when I think of Android 12 and I think of all these issues that are happening. By the way, I might need to switch mine to landscape mode, my phone, but
okay, yeah. I just noticed that.
anyway, that's probably why I'm so tiny here. But
Yeah,
when
that's
I
yep.
think when I think of Android 12 though, I think okay, these issues are with almost every phone. It's an Android 12 issue that's unrelated to the Pixel 6 or anything like that.
Mhm.
Almost all the issues are like that. But when you think of something like OnePlus, they have a track record. See, Google has a track record of
Yes,
fixing these issues
correct.
relatively quickly.
Yes.
But when you look at OnePlus, they have a track record of going months and months and months at a time. I'm seeing people on the OnePlus 8 that were having issues for months and months and months with this stuff, and it's not getting fixed. And then
Mhm.
you have all the complaints about them promising to stay with this software, and then they immediately change their mind with ColorOS and all this
Mhm.
stuff. So they are just getting annihilated in the press,
Oh yeah.
and
Yes.
it,
And let
I
me tell
just
you
don't know
this.
how you're so incompetent to allow yourself to
Well,
get annihilated that long.
this is the thing that so when the OnePlus 8 dropped to that, rock bottom price, I was like, I've got to pick one up because people were hitting me up. Like when I first started covering the OnePlus 9, they were like, hey, aren't you aware of OnePlus makes updates that break the phone and then they don't fix it? I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, well, we know you don't really cover OnePlus. We've been with OnePlus forever. They'll break something and they'll just keep it moving. I'm like, wait a second. So you're telling me you'll have good updates, and then the next couple of phones come out, and the next thing you know, they break your phone? And they're like, yeah. So I was like, well, I'm gonna get this OnePlus. So far, I've been very lucky. I didn't have your issue, but I want to keep it long term just to see, especially now that ColorOS is coming and all that stuff.
Okay.
It's a great piece of hardware, and it's like, are they about to brick this device? So, and from what everybody is saying, they're like, yes, they're gonna brick this device. We just want you to see it when it happens.
So yeah, I know you cover a lot of budget devices on your channel, Zach. One of my first videos that I saw from you was the Motorola G Stylus 2021 version.
Mm.
So, are you planning on picking up any like mid-range OnePlus phones again, or what do you think about those right now?
You said mid-range OnePlus or Motorola?
OnePlus, OnePlus.
Yeah, I see it. I would. It's just they have to come out with something that's appealing to me. And OnePlus, the one issue, so I review things that I would also want to recommend up front. I generally have an idea if I'm going to recommend. Now, I'm still going to trash something if it's bad. So I reviewed the Samsung Galaxy Tab, the A7 Lite, and it wasn't even 1080p, and it's only like $30-$40 cheaper than the regular Tab S7 or A7, excuse me, at the time. So I'm not going to recommend it. I just said, look, just get a regular A7 unless you have to have that small tablet. So I don't mind trashing something if I think it's a bad product or just being honest. But I want to find products that I'm going to recommend because I want to help people save money naturally. So the problem with OnePlus is they're giving very few updates, and this has happened with Motorola too. This is something that is heavily plaguing Motorola and OnePlus, is that they aren't willing to update their phones that are especially lower range phones. Like if you have a phone like the Moto G Stylus, I'm pretty sure you're just going to get one update and that's it.
Yep.
They're only giving two updates, two big OS updates to something like that's brand new, like the Motorola Edge or something, but they're not going to give two updates to something that's lower end. Now, Samsung, the very, very low end, they give one update to, I'm pretty sure, but they have at least given two updates to things that are in the mid range, at least. And they still have more security updates as well. So when I factor all those things in, I'm like, okay, I don't know if I would want a phone that only has one update, and especially when they release on, like, I wouldn't be surprised right now if OnePlus released a phone on Android 11 instead of Android 12.
Oh yeah,
and then their one update is to Android 12, and then you're like, well, that's it. Like, I know there's a really cool OnePlus phone that was coming out. I can't remember. Maybe it was the N300 or something. You know what I'm talking about. It had sweet looking cameras. It had awesome renders. It looked really cool.
Came out within the last week. I know what you're talking
about.
So
I saw that. Looked really cool. It'd be something I'd be willing to review if it was a good phone around $300 for sure. So it's just something I've got to be interested in trying myself, because I really know tablets are the bread and butter of my channel, but I also don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. So when I look at things like mid-range phones, I have to want to try them for myself to see, is this a great deal? Because I remember I used to work at Sprint back in the day. And I worked at Sprint when, I don't know, they were just coming out with LTE. Everything was trash and everyone was complaining. And I worked for them for a few years. And I remember I was so excited because I was about to get a Sharp Aquos, one of those really cheap $100 phones. And you'd be like, why are you excited about this? You've got a $600 phone. Well, I just want to see how far they could push the mid-range, how far they could push the lower end, right? Because I want to give good budget recommendations. And then the phone, as soon as you got it out of the box, the UI crashed over and over and over and over until I factory reset. But outside of that, like, that's who I am, right? I want to help people do that. But you have to bring certain things to the table to even get my attention. One of those things is software updates. I really would like a 90 hertz refresh rate if you're coming into $300 nowadays, especially at OnePlus, a decent battery, and a decent processor with at least 4 gig of RAM. And if you do that for $200-$300, that's something where I'd be like, okay, I'm interested in that. And that'll really get my attention. Because when you have a Pixel 4a for $350, and that's been out for a while now.
Yeah, it's really
and you get some of the best cameras on any phone for $350.
Yes.
And even though the battery was small, it was pretty good battery life. So you really have to come with it. So you give me the 90 hertz, and that'll make up for the bad cameras. You give me a bigger battery, that'll make up for your bad reputation for software and stuff like that. And you got the Pixel 4a, who's going to get a lot of updates, right? So again, you have to make up for these things. And so I better see a decent processor, and I better see a 90 hertz refresh rate, and just a decent looking screen. And if they do that, I'll consider it. But I really, really want 2 OS updates for me to consider a phone at that price.
Oh yeah.
Props to you, because I have been struggling to do, like, I do mid-range devices, but I've been struggling to try to help out people look for budget, because when at the end of the day, because of what you've said, like to give you an example, I have a TCL that I won. I still haven't shown it on my channel because I know it's not the best recommendation. And this is not to put TCL down. TCL may come back, next year and say, hey, we're doing more updates, right? But I know where it's going to lead me is Xiaomi, Realme, these companies. So I have to have a different conversation. Like, all right, I'm going to start investing in them because Motorola is dropping the ball. TCL is not there yet, right? I need to show these devices. Like, here's the TCL. I think it's great, but you're only going to get, talk about the caveats. And this is the leap. Instead of going to Amazon, you're buying this from Wireless Place, this Redmi, so it's real tough right now to just say you can't go into your Metro store, what I'm saying? Like, if you want a long-term device, that's a budget-friendly device.
Now, really fast, how are the updates? So I mentioned this right before you showed up, I think.
Mhm.
But someone asked me about Xiaomi, and I'm not as familiar because my whole channel has been built around my whole channel has been really built around trying to help people, again, find things that are easy to find, that are affordable. So when you look at something like, let's say you go to a Best Buy, again, I want to find things that they could afford. So I was talking about tablets, and that's a big bread and butter for my channel. So Lenovo tablets are there. Samsung tablets are there.
Yeah.
And my channel has grown dramatically because no one talks about these things because they don't care. And I care about them.
Yeah, I think tablets, you're fine. Is when you start talking about phones. That's where you become limited. So my struggle, just because I talk about phones, is on the phone end. And that's the scary part about Xiaomi. Xiaomi updates their phones. So, like, to give you an example,
that's what I wanted to know. What updates do you get roughly from them? Okay, and from Realme too. That's something I just don't know as much about.
I can't really speak on. I'm pretty sure they follow Xiaomi, but I can't speak because I don't have Realme devices. But what Xiaomi does, like, to give you an example, you remember how Verizon was basically on stage with Apple when they announced the 12 series because it was 5G, 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 and then Verizon a few weeks later was like, turn off 5G customers. Apple is ruining our reputation basically because the battery life was so poor. Xiaomi is like this. Google announces that they're going to do nearby share. It's they're not saying it, but it's an AirDrop competitor, right? Samsung is going to be like Google, first devices to get it, right? So the first device that got it, or actually the first devices that got it, and I'm running beta on my Pixel devices. I have Samsung, I have Pixels, was my Xiaomi Redmi Note 9 Pro and my Xiaomi Mi 11. Those are the first devices to get nearby share.
And
so,
quick question: from your experience anyway, are the mid-range Redmi devices on the same update schedule as the?
Yes. So the mid-range are. I don't know about the ultra budget, but the mid-range are, and they consider their mid-range like the Redmi series.
But how many OS updates are you normally getting?
So I normally get well, I actually haven't had it long enough. So the Redmi Note 9 Pro has been through 2 OS updates. But the Mi 11 has only gone through 1. Just because it's a newer device.
So do you know if they typically give 3 updates, if it's typical
overall
I don't in the lifetime?
I don't know if so normally I thought it was 2 updates before Google had gone to Qualcomm to seek more. So I know Samsung, based on that, changed. But actually, I can pull it up. Let me see if I can do this real time.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty sad that I've covered them so little on my channel and in life. Well, because my channel is so, and it's a good thing, right? Because I'm really trying to reach a certain base. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Mm-hmm. However, it's really sad when you're a techie and you don't even pronounce Xiaomi right.
I know.
And I mispronounced them so many times because it's just not something I regularly cover, right? I'm in a sense like the rest of the user base because I'm really trying to think about what they would purchase. And I was talking about the other things, like there are those security threats that a lot of people are concerned about. And when you think about that and all those other things, I just don't know if it appeals to your normal consumer because of those things.
Yeah, because
And
first
because
of
they
all, the
have to go out of their
Sony.
way.
Yeah,
Go
I'm
ahead.
looking at that, Jason, right now. I was just confirming that it was a Redmi was included in it.
I mean, that's really good for like the price of their Redmi.
Correct. It's really good. So they have been like Xiaomi's have been kind of scary with how quickly they update. I've never I'm like, oh man, I'm wishing this update is coming.
Yeah, I'd love to see Zach cover a Xiaomi.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
Well,
my
what
next
what
thing
would
is to
happen in
get.
that case? I would just be like, oh, it's the best phone for the money. However, here's the thing.
Yeah, you
I'm
have
in
to
the
go through the
US.
caveats, right? Right. You have to go
I'm
through
in
the
the
caveats.
US. I have Verizon. This
Yeah.
isn't
So
an
yeah,
option.
it's not an option for
Exactly.
Verizon. Correct.
So that's the thing. If I'm covering phones, I know like half the people have Verizon. So I don't want to recommend something that's not even an
Correct.
option to half of my user
Correct.
base, or
Yeah,
it's a good portion of it.
yeah, you're it's man, I'm telling you, that's kind of the reason why I struggle with these budget devices. And I don't really cover them. I stick with mid-range and higher or flagships that have gotten lower in price, just because of what you're saying. You eliminate all the people that are on Verizon.
Yeah, and I get killed on my channel sometimes for saying, "Oh, this is a great value. This is a good value for $350." And they're like, "Yeah, but it's not Xiaomi. It's not quite like them. It's not something that you can get for $350 with these specs." And I'm like, "Okay, we have to take those Chinese phones out of account. Like you can't account for that when you're talking about the US market, right? It's not something you can consider when again a lot of our user base can't use it. So congrats
Yeah,
if you
so I
can.
think what I'm gonna do, Zach, though, is I'm gonna do it like this. If you have to have Verizon, here's this TCL, and this is the impact that you have.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be a worse performer in game. It's gonna be and then outside of that, if you want the Xiaomi, here's the gaming performance. Here's this. Here's the updates that you're gonna get. So
Yeah.
kind of almost like instead of doing like one phone at a time, you have to do two. Like, hey, this is budget day. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy that we have to do that.
That's that's the problem is they just don't support the bands, Jason. You said they don't support them. They don't support them because Verizon doesn't use the bands, which even explaining antennas and bands to people, the Verizon phones just communicate on different wavelengths to different towers.
Yeah, they're
So
using
you,
So even though
yeah,
everything is back in, so basically what's happening is you've got legacy CDMA that's still out there that Verizon's trying to kill off. AT&T is trying to kill off, some legacy 3G and all that. So that causes issues. Everything was LTE based, and 5G, it wouldn't be as big of a deal, but there's those little things there. So there's really no incentive for Xiaomi, since they're really not trying to go after the US market, to put these extra bands in and work with Verizon to get certified. I'm not sure if that was clear to everybody, but
Okay, so
yeah.
quick. So I just pulled up like the specs of the latest Redmi device, the Note 11 Pro. Is there a Pro Plus 2 there?
Oh yeah, there's a Pro Plus as well.
Okay, so yeah, this is Pro. I believe it's like the middle of three of them. So looks like it has a 6.67-inch Super AMOLED display with 120 hertz, 5,160 milliamp battery, 6 to 8 gigs of RAM, the Dimensity 920. I'm not sure what that's on par with currently.
That I think is on par with I thought that was like above the 778G processor.
Really? Above
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think that's what it is.
But when it's all said and done, the price $327.59. That's insane. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, and there's rumor that the Pro the global version may have a Snapdragon.
Okay.
But yeah, it's tough. I'm telling you, it's really tough.
So let me see. So we talked about Android tablets a lot. Is that something that you've played around with the Lapberry?
Me? Okay, so with Andrew, I was listening to Zach when I was backstage, but so Android tablets. So Samsung is definitely great, right? And they've got DeX and all that stuff. But with I need to try the Xiaomi Mi Pad. It looks crazy. But whenever, unless it was a Google tablet,
Okay.
anytime I get a Android tablet, and I would respect Samsung enough not to do this, but it's like, okay, I've got this tablet. All right, I'm gonna power it up. Okay, I'm gonna put this down. All right, start downloading the custom ROM. I'm wiping everything and I'm going custom ROM. So to me, I think small, really small form factor, like iPhone mini size, even though I hate that size, I think it's way too small. And tablets are the best for iOS in its current state. Like
Okay.
the other sizes really don't work with iOS that well. Even though there's no way you're going to get me outside of a 13 Pro Max or Max series. I'm not going to get a small phone, even though it doesn't work as well. But I really think they own tablets. And then if you are looking at Android, it's got to be a Samsung. It's got to be a Tab series, where you can really do functional work. You can do DeX. But to me, tablets are just browsing. You're not doing much, Oh, I might edit this video on it. That's it.
Yeah, I'll quickly say, Barry, to what you're saying. I agree with you that iOS makes better tablets, and they actually make better tablets for the money over Android tablets because they're better optimized to work in tablet form, right? So if you're using an iOS tablet, they're just going to do a better job because they know iPads, they're just a big popular thing. And for whatever reason, they don't care about someone using a crummy $100 Android tablet. A lot of the Android tablets out there are relatively cheap. So they're not really thinking about optimizing as well. And maybe it's harder. Maybe it is harder.
Yeah, it could be.
The way
Because
Google
if you think
made
about it, iOS has literally, I mean, now they introduced the M1 on their tablets, but they've been using the same instruction set and basically the hardware they know, whereas every other OEM from oh, we got to build a tablet. It's not like they have a base to really go off of. Samsung, you can put them in that category, and now Xiaomi, but pretty much Android has not been in that, not had that luxury. It's like, oh, we're getting our clocks clean by the iPad, let's try to put something together. So
my thing is, what I've been getting into a little more is, I know Samsung is the main killer for Android tablets, and they do a great job for people who don't want an iPad because you might just hate the OS. I hate the OS. So if I really want something that's mainly for entertainment, right? Because we have to remember, even iPads aren't that great for actually doing laptop work.
I see that's to me, like when I think of tablet, so that's why I appreciate Samsung. You've got DeX, you can actually do something with it. Like I know there are creators that do great work and they have great videos with the iPad. To me, the iPad is just, all right, start Safari, play Netflix. That's what it is, but it just does a better job at that. But if I'm going to do serious work, I'm not grabbing an iPad.
But the AMOLED screens and stuff in the Tab series could actually be better.
Correct.
I would argue that the Tab S7 Plus is going to have a better screen. So you factor that in. It can be a close battle if you're someone who prefers Android, right? Yeah. But outside of that, there is a new wave of tablets coming in, and I've been covering them on my channel. You have Chromebooks that have had detachable tablets out there, and they run Android apps, and they're actually better at productivity, in my opinion, than something like a Samsung device. So the thing that makes it really interesting is they have the desktop environment. You could do the desktop related work. So they have a 13-inch, I covered it on my channel, a Lenovo Chromebook Duet, $500 tablet. It's an OLED screen for $500, and it comes with a full-size keyboard. So for $500, you get a tablet that comes with a full-size keyboard, and it runs Chrome OS, but it also has access to all the Android apps that you would use.
That's nice.
So and you get 8 years of software updates because
Oh,
Chromebooks
wow.
now have like 8 years of software updates,
That's
and it gets
crazy.
all the updates that you get on every other Chromebook. Now, here's the negative thing: they're still a little glitchy, and that's just the
Okay.
reality. Because,
Yeah.
like, if I go to Twitter on a Chrome tablet and I go to type a response, when I press the space bar, the keyboard will blink, and it's just a little glitch that they've had. Well, they've had that glitch for like over a year. So there are still some minor glitches in that world.
Mhm.
But on the other end, a lot of these tablets are going on sale. They retail for $500-$600. They're going on sale for $300 or $400, and there's not a lot out there. The Pixel Slate was really the best one that they had.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
got crushed. It got crushed in reviews.
Oh, yeah.
But all of those reviews were talking about an issue. It was like the first Chrome OS tablet, and
Yeah, but
after
they
6 months of
don't care about that.
updates,
They don't care about
yeah,
that.
after 6 months of updates, it got really speedy. It actually works great overall, but there's still glitches from even then that are
Mhm.
in existence, right? So if they clean that up, that's another really solid option for Android users as a lot of
Mhm.
those come out because,
Right.
again, an OLED screen, a fully detachable keyboard that honestly, it felt better than the Tab S7 Plus keyboard when I used it. So you have a
Wow.
full keyboard that feels like an actual laptop keyboard,
Mhm.
and you have it a 13-inch tablet. It comes with the kickstand on the back, so that saves you $200 from the Tab S7 Plus. So then you're comparing a $500 Chromebook tablet that gets 8 years of updates versus a tablet from Samsung that costs like $800, or
Mhm.
even
Mhm.
if you get $850 plus the keyboard,
Yeah.
right? And I know I'm not talking Black Friday prices, but you see what I'm
Yeah.
getting at. There are some
Oh, yeah.
competitors coming out that are really making a dent as far as Chrome OS. And I think that's cool, but they really got to work out some bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Quick point. So I really feel like I really like that Lenovo Chromebook that you're talking about currently, and I love to see that a lot more Chromebooks are using like ARM based processors right now because the Intel ones were not
Yeah.
doing well for what I needed anyway.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
wasn't like compatible with a lot of the Android apps that I use regularly. But also, we got another guest in here. My boy Sneed Mobile Tech decided to
What
join.
up, Sneed? What
What's
up,
up?
Sneed?
What's
How's it
going
going,
on?
buddy?
Thanks for sending over the
Chilling.
link, man.
Hey,
No
man.
problem,
Thanks
no
for
problem.
coming.
Appreciate you for joining, man.
Sure, absolutely.
So how's your experience with the Pixel 6 Pro? I know you got it as well.
Yeah, it's really good, man. I really like this phone. You know, the Pixels, I like it being my daily driver, man. I really do. It
Oh
does
yeah,
so many good things. You know, I was telling somebody, it may have been while Barry was on live stream once recently, where I was
Yeah, yeah.
talking about the call screening feature.
Oh,
Bro, I don't get like scam calls
yeah.
anymore.
It's
You know,
done.
like
It's done.
like stuff that we take for granted,
Mhm.
like that is so convenient. The that magic eraser feature is really cool. I like
Mhm.
that. The battery life's really good. The camera's great. I mean, there's a lot to like about the
There's a
phone.
lot to like. Yeah,
Yeah.
it really. Yeah, it's funny because we were just talking about tablets, and I've got my S21. That's for work, right? So that's was given to me by work. It's a great phone.
Mm.
But one of the things is ever so often we have to change the number just because we're a public business, right? But we'll have to change our number because we're getting a lot of spam calls. And I finally told my company, it's like, hey, I'm just going to turn notifications off on this. I'll just use this phone. It'll be in my backpack. I'll use it for decks or something like that if I need to do some
Yeah.
more work with it. And I just put one of my pixels on my business line and call screen and problem solved, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Pixel 6, so I got the Pixel 6 Pro
mhm.
with Google. They sent it to me with Team Pixel,
Okay.
and my wife's actually using it now. I've got the Pixel 6. I just sold it like today, and it wasn't because I hated it, because I just got the Z Flip 3 back. I don't know why, I just love that
Oh, the
phone.
Z Flip 3 is a great phone. It's a
It's just the
great phone.
battery life is trash, but outside of
Yeah, that's
that,
about it's
I
probably one
just
of the best phones. Yeah.
I just love it. I mean, right now I'm using it, and even though I've been messing with my camera, okay, this is like the first time I've even done one of these streams, so I moved it to landscape mode, and then I'm trying to
Mhm.
get good positioning on the spot. But I've got it folded up sideways, so I don't have like a kickstand or anything with it.
Mhm.
So I'm holding it up. I've got my Z Flip 3, and I just have it propped open halfway, and
Mhm.
then I could have the stream and the camera that way. So there's a lot of benefits to that folding form factor. But I had anyway Pixel 6, Pixel 6 Pro. I had both, and my wife's using the 6 Pro now, and I had a fantastic experience with both of them. I'm about to drop a video about the 6 and the 6 Pro, the differences. I think the 6 Pro is for the tech enthusiast who really,
Mhm.
really wants to have a phone that is just the best of the best for the most part. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
the best in
correct.
every
Yeah,
way.
correct.
The
Yeah.
S21 Ultra, I think, does beat it in a few ways, but it's one of the best phones that's really out, period, and it's at a great price. And I think the Pixel 6 is for those who just want a bargain, who want a great deal, because that 90 hertz refresh rate is good enough for me. I don't even
Oh
notice
yeah.
the difference.
Yeah.
Who needs 12 gig of RAM? I don't think your average person does at all. And it's going to close out the most recent app anyway if you fill up your RAM, or one of the
Oh
latest
yeah.
apps
It's
you've
gonna
even used.
it's gonna manage it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who's going to notice that? And do you really need a telephoto camera? Your average person just picks up their camera and shoots. So the Pixel 6 seems to be for the average
Yeah,
person.
that's kind
The
of
tech
my
enthusiast loves
thought
the
process
6
is
Pro.
I love the 6 Pro, right?
Yeah.
But and I probably would not given the 6 a lot of credit unless I was, because I kind of had to get it. My 6 Pro was delayed, for a while.
Yeah.
And so I got a 6, and I was like, wait a second, this phone does pretty much everything that the bigger one does. But if I want the Pixel experience, I can go with a telephoto. If I don't like the Pixel experience, do I go Dex experience with S21 Ultra? Do I go iMessage with 13 Pro Max? So to me, it just hits so many things that it's the phone that I recommend to everybody. I'm like, yeah, Pixel 6. And if they're like, oh, well, I'm not into Android. Oh, okay. Well, here's the iOS device. Oh, well, I'm really, don't want to carry a lot of stuff. I want to, not leave my laptop at home. Okay, well, let me talk to you about a Samsung, but everything I do is kind of lead with the Pixel 6 series now.
Yeah.
And I didn't
It's
think
one of the
at the
best
beginning of
deals
this year, I was never going to do that. I did not have a phone of the year. I was like, nope, there's been too many good phones this year, but coming in at this price point, it changed my mind.
And I'll quickly say though, Barry, I will acknowledge it was both me and you. I think we were both being Pixel 6. We were defending a little bit on Twitter.
Oh
because
yeah.
a lot of things, a lot of people have a lot of things to say. And look, I'll just say this: Android 12, not the Pixel 6, Android 12 has had bugs primarily. Number one, number two, I expect most of those bugs to get fixed. And again, the S21 is proof. And
It's
even the
proof.
iPhone having some minor Twitter scrolling issues on some.
Well,
That's proof
that's not
that.
the only issue. The issue,
Yeah, that
one of the things
proves.
and it made me think of Sneed too. So 15.1.1 addressed Apple addressed an issue that I wasn't having, or at least I didn't know I was having, because I only use my Apple for Teams that don't use normal calls. But they had a serious call drop issue, and Apple had to fix it because some of the carriers were like, "What is going on here?"
Must have been a
this
cellular, right?
Yeah,
Cellular
it was
issue.
cellular.
Okay.
It was cellular issue. So, and iPhone has been pretty decent the last few years with the radio and all that stuff. So it might not have affected me personally, but I feel that pain, but that's never brought up. It seemed like the only thing that people wanted to talk about was, hey, I'm getting some scrolling issues on Twitter on my Pixel,
Yeah.
So,
but I was gonna say, the fingerprint issues I don't think were resolved. I got to keep it 100%.
Yeah.
I did the update. I've got dry fingers, okay? So I have issues with a lot of fingerprint sensors, not regular ones, but with in-screen ones. And I had issues with the Tab S7, which used the old technology. I did not have issues with the regular S21. So they seem to improve some things over time. And I do have issues when I use a screen protector, a tempered glass in particular.
Yeah, tempered
if you use a regular screen protector, you're good. But if you use tempered glass,
if you use tempered
you're
glass,
having problems.
correct.
So, but I did the update.
Go ahead.
I would say I did the update. I re-registered prints, and if I would get out of the shower, my hands are a little dry, and I dry off my hands. No, doesn't work. Doesn't work. Until I put some lotion on or something, it's not going to work. Now, if I do it, it's going to work 95% of the time, but I still had reliability issues a little bit. And that's one of the knocks that I will say, okay, it has some reliability issues. But for $600, when you don't have a plastic back and you have an actual Gorilla Glass Victus, you've got that going on. When you have the cameras that are going to be better than every phone at $600 and all these other things, and all these other phones like the S20 FE, one of the biggest issues with the S20 FE, it did not have, and no reviews covered this. Mine didn't even cover it because I didn't know. It does not have a regular proximity sensor. It uses software to determine if the phone is on your face. So after about 3 weeks with the S20 FE, I'm walking around, the phone's just waking up every 2 seconds, and I'm just walking, going back and forth, and the phone is waking up all the time. Never happened with any other phone.
But no one's covering it,
No one covers that. So, and then it had touchscreen issues, so they had to cut corners, whether it was with the plastic build or not even having a proxy sensor, which has been a foundational thing since the beginning of time. But they've been cutting those corners on those mid-range devices, and the Pixel didn't do any of that. It was only the fingerprint sensor, which I wish they would have.
And this is what I said. Like, so Ben Lover Tech he's been part of Samsung for a while, right? And he suffered through like the S10, S20, so he hit me up right away. He's like, hey, Barry, the fingerprint sensor is an 8 out of 10. He goes, remember don't forget about what Samsung went through. They just got to this, S21. But I get a kick out of, there's people like Ben, but I get a kick out of people like Sneed. Sneed is going around doing all this work for us, right? He's not reviewing the phone, even though he gives us reviews of the phone. Like, he's trying to review the network, but he'll still go like, wait a second, I'm having this issue, guys. I got to let you know, like, this is what I'm seeing with my Pixel. This is what I'm seeing with my iPhone. Like, he goes through that. And some of these people, it's like, I know you see this. Why are you not saying anything? And
I'm having, one of the troubles I had was trying to live stream on Verizon with the Pixel 6 Pro. You can't.
Yeah,
the cellular network just drops.
It drops. Yeah.
With the AT&T, with T-Mobile, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't see any trouble. So I've had that issue, and I don't know, the fingerprint scanner, I never really had major issues until
either, but I never used,
but it's not 100% accurate.
Yeah, I don't ever use on curved screens. I never use a tempered glass.
By the way, this phone needs one. It scratches so easy.
So
I really regret not getting one.
So that's what I've been trying to, and I need to put it in my review, but I've been trying to tell people the more resistant. So the iPhone, this Victus glass, the more resistant we are to breakages, the more scratch resistant we're going to, so you literally, like, when you get your iPhone and you get your Pixel, take it out of the case and immediately put the screen protector on.
Yeah, it's a trade-off. You can get, a more durable display that's more scratch prone. It just comes with the territory. It's whatever the displays are made of.
I'm one of those types that if I get a scratch on my phone, it's like
it pisses me off too.
Oh yeah, like it's like I broke the phone. All right, got to go get my screen replaced.
I had that happen with the Z Flip 3. By the way, I dropped it, and I had it wasn't a big thing, but on the bottom of it, it was almost like a little paint chip on the bottom. It wasn't on the glass or anything, but it bothered me so much, so I sold it. And 2 months later, I have a new Z Flip. That's brand new. By the way, Z Flip for Black Friday. People got to know to do this stuff, by the way. You go to Samsung's website. If they offer $350 for an iPhone 6S, you go to eBay, you buy one for $100 that's in mint condition.
Yes.
You buy a track phone version. Wada bing, wada bang, wada boom. I got it for like $570 or something, the Z Flip 3. And I got free Galaxy Buds, right? So then you factor in that. In a way, it's only $500 for the Z Flip 3 brand new. So people got to get creative, but I had to get it new and I had to put the case on right away because I fumbled it on gravel, and it's the worst when that happens on your phone. You can't get those scratches or those dings. It bugs you. Just put a case on it.
So yeah,
and screen protector.
Yep. So yeah, I want to hit this question from Jason
Okay.
C. a little bit ago. Do you think Google will ever explore the tablets again, or are they all in with foldables? So do you guys think that Google can do both in the future,
What do you
or
think, Sneed?
You
yeah,
guys
I know
think
you
there's a
guys are
market there?
So yeah, so
I think that's the question. This is like a
yeah,
business type question. So like when Google
correct.
looks at its product lineup, are people asking them for a tablet? Because if the answer to that is no, right away you don't have Google customers wanting a
it's-
Pixel tablet, and then you're not going to get Samsung people buying that device because they like their Samsung tabs, and you're
Mhm.
not going to convert people from the iPad. That's the best
No,
tablet
I that
in the
that's
world. So like,
yes, it's that's a tough one for me. I'm with you, and another thing that makes it hard for me is you just got people excited about your phones, other than true Pixel and Android people. Like
Right.
multiple people are excited about this, so
but it would be
why
good,
try?
Barry. It would be a good
It would
tablet, but it
be, it
wouldn't
would be.
matter because it
It,
wouldn't
yeah,
sell.
because it's like because you got a beast in Samsung, and then you got iPad. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
it's
Well,
tough.
there's something you guys got to consider though. You have to consider that Google doesn't normally make products to get a lot of hardware sales, and that's
Correct.
something that Google has never really. They don't really make their hardware decisions often because they're just going to be a top seller or something.
So then why'd they
Sometimes
sell
it's
their phone for
just
$599?
well, I get with their phone they sold it for $599, but if we go on the history of a lot of
Yeah,
things,
the
I'm
history.
not saying
I
they didn't want
agree
to
with the
sell it.
history. I agree with the history, but
I'm not saying they didn't want
I
to
agree
sell
with
it.
both of you right now. I agree with both of you. This is price to sell, right?
Yeah, it's priced to sell. They
It's
want it
price.
in as many hands as possible.
Yeah,
But
make
what
sure
I'm
both
saying
of
is even in this case, I think Google doesn't care about profits on their hardware as much as they do about getting the hardware in people's hands for software purposes so that they're going to get all the tracking history and stuff like that. But sometimes not all the time, okay? And maybe they'll change strategies and do this and this and that. Google's strategy, they're always nuts, okay, with certain things. I mean, they'll start 10 different things and then they'll shut 5 of them down next year for no reason. But
Correct.
when I think about Google, sometimes they make products just to like set the market or something. And when you look at something like Android 12L, which is the software they're working on, they're trying to work on the software to work a little bit better with tablets on Android. So I wouldn't be surprised if either A, Google makes a detachable Chromebook tablet because they already made the Pixel Slate way back in the day. That's the last tablet that we've seen from Google was the Pixel Slate. And it was a huge fail, but it was because the software was not ready.
Correct.
And as they get the software for Android 12L out there, it's going to improve tablets on Chromebooks as well. So I wouldn't be surprised. Chromebooks have grown rapidly over the pandemic, like huge. And even if they're declining now, they're still on the up and up. They went from one detachable tablet being available, period, to having like 3 new ones this year. So 4 new ones. They're coming out and coming out more and more. So I wouldn't be surprised if they either go the Chromebook route and make a tablet there, because they haven't made a Pixelbook Go Chromebook in a while. They haven't done that. Wouldn't be surprised if they go on the Chrome section, or if they release a tablet with Android 12L on the Android side, and just really to play around with. They're probably experimenting with Android 12L. I wouldn't be surprised if they just made their own tablet and just made it to work with it right out the box and just operated on it a little bit, tested it on it. I wouldn't be surprised if that's something they did, but I'm not saying that's
Yeah,
the end
yeah.
all be all answer, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did it. And sometimes they tinker with things and then they price to sell 3 or 4 things later, right? Like they did with the Pixel 6. I mean, they made the Pixel 5 beforehand, right? And they made these other Pixels beforehand, but they weren't really quite the hot sellers until a little bit later. So
So you bring up a good point, and before I forget, is you brought up you're talking about these pixels and the history of things. They've put so much into the marketing of this device. If they actually had a tablet that they were selling with it, I think it would have actually sold a little bit. It would have been like a complimentary good that would
Correct.
have kind of gone with it, only because they're finally advertising and pushing the product. But I just want to throw that in there so I didn't forget about it. You guys can go
No,
ahead.
that's a good point because and that's sort of what I'm saying. They didn't advertise a lot of those previous phones.
Right.
And then finally they say, we want to sell this. They advertise the heck out of it and they're sold out everywhere. So, I mean, I think they could do that with the tablet too, but maybe the first
I think they
tablet isn't the
could.
one
I
they
think,
do.
yeah, I just hope they don't, because it seems like all the tablets so far have been priced too high for what they were. Not the hardware, just the software and all that stuff tied together.
The experience, right?
Yeah. So if they could just say, "Hey guys, remember that Nexus 7 that you loved?"
man. Yeah.
Do something like that where it's like, we're gonna do an expensive one soon, but this is our entry, and then see if people are still excited that they're willing to try it.
And how about this?
Go ahead.
Nobody has an ecosystem like Google. I don't care what you got to say about Apple. Nobody has an ecosystem like Google. It's Gmail, it's Drive, it's Photos, it's Sheets, it's Docs. It's in business, it's in schools, it's personal. You know, dude, like people talk about iOS and Apple as this ecosystem. They have nothing on Google. People literally call their searches on the web, I'm going to Google it. Don't tell me about no ecosystem. I don't want to hear it.
People do not value Google Drive like they really should. So even for stuff I do on the side, I've got folders in Google Drive for all this personal stuff, for all this work stuff. You can make basically Word documents. I mean, that's what Google is doing. They're replicating Word, whatever. But the point is you can do all that. It's all saved on the web, accessed from any device. You don't have to pay anything for it. And it's really just as good as Microsoft Word. So
it's great.
When you have that in Google Docs, that is huge. I mean, that is a huge thing to build your ecosystem around, on top of Google search, on top of everyone having a Gmail account, on top, like people say, oh, switching to Android is going to be such an inconvenience.
No.
Well, they have to go through the inconvenience of using a Google account with their iCloud account and having the weird things like that. Like there's such a beauty in only having a Gmail. You only use the Google Chrome web browser. A lot of people do anyway. You have Google for all of your documents. So the ecosystem, like you said, it really is there for sure.
Yo, hey, Galen, you got to get in. We're agreeing too much. You got to break it up, man.
Yeah. You're like, no, man.
I was like just about to make it. I agree actually too.
Damn.
But I think if they were to do a tablet, I think they should brand it like how they did the Pixel. They branded it as Google's phone. Like most people don't know what a Pixel is, but when they branded it as a Google phone, more people bought it because they trust Google because it's the most powerful search engine in the world. Like Patara was telling me, like in the UK,
they don't even say Pixel; they just say Google phone.
They don't say Pixel; they say this is a Google phone. It doesn't say Pixel 6. It doesn't say Pixel 6 Pro. It's a Google phone. So I think that's like I think that would like really sell a lot if they just branded Google more, except for like the Pixel line or the Nexus tablet line or things like that.
I think they're holding off a little bit because I do think that they want. They know the software is a little bit of a mess. And I mentioned this way earlier on Android tablets. They're just not as well optimized as iPads. I will never use an iPad. I hate everything that Apple makes. They make amazing products. Amazing. I will recommend them to people. I will recommend them to family. I will recommend iPads to people in my comment section. But I just hate Apple, period. And I just hate iOS. It's just a personal hatred of mine that has nothing to do with how good the product is. So when it comes to reality, I'll never use it. So for me, I'm only going over the Android options. And for my audience, I am Android Digest. Okay. So I'm primarily looking at Android options out there. But the software, if I'm just honest and just being honest, when you open up the Best Buy app on your tablet, 80% of Android tablets out there, you'll have your tablet in landscape mode with your nice keyboard, and it will flip the Best Buy app, and it will flip it to portrait mode. And you'll have to take your device off your keyboard. You'll have to flip it around. And that is something that happens with I'd say 20, 15%, maybe even 30% of apps. And the other apps that do work in landscape mode, they just stretch it out and make it look ugly. And I know that can happen on iOS. I'm not saying it doesn't, but that's primarily an Android issue. And I think this Android 12L stuff they're talking about, I think that will fix some of those things. I think they're trying to make it easier for these developers to work on stuff for tablets, and that's a big, big talking point for them. So I think releasing a Google tablet down the line would make a lot of sense if they do it at the right time with the right software and with the right branding. And if they want to do a placeholder in the meantime, like a Pixel 5, like, hey, this isn't the best, but this is nostalgia, great. But don't put your marketing push behind it until you really get the software right.
Correct.
Yeah, I definitely think they have to release Android 12L or whatever it's called before the new Pixel tablet if they do that, because I just think that them making like a proprietary software just for tablets is like the biggest step they've done. Like
that's a huge step, and let Samsung that already has the premium hardware vet it first, you know, and then it's like, okay, it's cool, all right. And now we can come
basically what Samsung is doing, they're just like playing around with the Android for your phone and just putting like
that's all they're doing. Yeah,
for a tablet. So
correct.
Imagine a whole OS like designated for tablets.
Designated for tablets. Yeah.
There really should be, though. I mean, what Android Digest is talking about is legitimate. You should have a tablet experience when running a tablet with tablet apps.
Correct.
You know, it has to be.
It has to be. Yeah.
And it blows my mind sometimes that these companies, when I look at like Microsoft on the gaming space, and they buy a company like Bethesda for like billions of dollars because they want to get like Skyrim or something on Xbox Game Pass, or they want to get things like that, or the next Elder Scrolls. They pay billions of dollars in hopes to get like 3 more games on, like off and on, or 4 good games here, and they pay billions. And you're telling me Google cannot incentivize Twitter, like incentivize 20 companies to make a good app for a tablet?
I agree. That's where they're gonna have to start flexing their muscle. You know, it's sort of like they have to do what they did when they went to Qualcomm and said, "Hey, we're not gonna let you know that we're about to build our own chip, but Android OEMs, including us, need 3 years of updates and 5 years of security updates. You gotta, give us more access to these chips, right?" They need to do that with these apps because this can't happen again.
You know, I have had some conversations with developers though, Barry. It's on the developer level. Like,
it is on the developer.
Like, they'll tell you that it's a nightmare developing apps on Android. It's very difficult, and it comes down to the kernel functionality. So,
and they are fixing that stuff with Android 12L, some of it.
Correct.
Right, but I'm talking about a complete system overhaul where like something like Fuchsia actually makes more sense, where you get a completely new operating system that replaces traditional Android. It becomes the new Android that's built on a different kernel. That may actually work better. Does that happen in 5 years? That's a big project. That's a huge undertaking.
Well, they've been working on it behind the scenes.
Sure.
I think like the relationship with Samsung and Microsoft, I think it's getting interesting. Like I feel like within the next few years, we'll see like more Microsoft apps be available like exclusively on Samsung tablets.
Partnerships.
Yeah. By the way, that's a whole nother debate, because I'm telling you, I was debating myself, right? I was like, okay, I want a tablet that can also be a laptop because I don't want to have to spend money on both. And then the Surface Pro 8 comes out, and Microsoft has always built, in my opinion, bad tablets, but good laptops, because the tablets, when I open up Drive on my Android tablet, it just opens up, boom, boom, everything's smooth as butter. You could scroll through the news. The way tablets work on Android, it is, even though it's not perfect, and even though the apps need developing, right? On Microsoft, they don't have apps in the App Store that are good, right? But when you get these new apps from Amazon, and now you could sideload apps, that really means I could get my full computer to also run Android apps. And when you have that, that might affect the sales of Android too. So that's just another little thing you do in there. The partnership between Samsung and Microsoft is going to grow some things on the Samsung side, but also Microsoft having that partnership with Amazon that's also a whole nother deal, bringing Android stuff to laptops and tablets. Like a Surface Pro with all the Android apps I need. Do I even need another laptop at that point? Do I even need a tablet? I have everything right there if they get it to work smoothly. So that's the problem. Google needs to get this stuff fixed on Android, or else there's going to be all these people, they're getting creative on the Microsoft side.
Yeah, they'll be able to figure out something else.
Yeah.
You know what I always wanted to see? I always wanted to see Samsung make like 2 or 3 versions of a device. So like a Microsoft version of the Galaxy S21, a Google Play edition of the S21. I wanted, because Samsung makes the best hardware.
Oh, they make great hardware.
The design's incredible. They're so. My wife calls them pretty. I just call them sleek. But like people find these devices attractive and all of that. They're powerhouses, right? Why can't we have the Google edition anymore? Like remember those? Remember the S5 and
I remember
and those back in the day, and the HTC, the Google Play editions. Bring that back, and then a Microsoft version. It would be the professional's phone. It would basically be like the Note.
Correct,
with pen support and all of that. I thought that would be awesome.
Yep. And if you want the vanilla Samsung, you just go right to Samsung.
Yeah, whatever their stock one is. Yeah,
agreed. Yeah, someone was talking about TCL like with the foldables earlier.
That was Pitar.
Yeah, it was either right. Yeah, it was Pitar.
I just don't know if they can compete price wise with Samsung.
But they were saying that like the little flip thing that they created was going to be like 600, and with Samsung, like that starts at 1,000. The Z Flip 3 started at 1,000, right? Zach?
Yeah, the Z Flip 3 started at 1,000. I think they were going to start at. I can't remember. I thought TCL was going to start at 800, but I can't remember. Maybe I'm wrong. It could.
Yeah,
but
I just remember it was like significant.
I thought it was 800.
Okay.
And they didn't think it could compete with the Flip at that price point.
Yeah, because they also had a lower end processor, and it was sort of a mess overall. So
I don't think anyone thought that the Flip was going to be inexpensive. I don't think the people thought the Flip was going to be that good of a phone this year. Period.
Well, they didn't have the outer screen as good on the TCL. They had a lower end processor, and I had the Motorola Razr 5G. I had the Motorola Razr phone I tried out, and it had like a 720p screen. It had a lot of weird things. I just didn't like it. So I liked the outer screen. It was sort of cool. But from the get-go, the fingerprint sensor was so low on the phone that I had to like readjust my hand to get to it. All types of weird things on top of, it took a week for those weird, there were some goofy noises that people were hearing, some really big squeaks in their hinges and stuff. And what I'm saying is that phone was priced at like $1,500. They've been selling them for $700-800 now, and no one's buying them. They've been out there.
Those are early adopter things you're talking about. It's like you've become the guinea pig, and they put all this R&D into trying to rush out Model 1, right, a version of that phone, and it's not going to be great. Version 2 is better, and version 3 is even better. And that's why I always feel like Galaxy with their flips and folds, they're on their 3rd iteration of these, right? They're like 5 years ahead of anybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that's basically what it means. So like anybody who's starting the development of one now, see you in 10 years.
Yeah.
When you actually make something worth considering over a Galaxy potentially.
I mean, they might hire some people from the Galaxy team and get some secret clues.
Well, those NDAs are like 2-3 years in length. So again, see you in 10 years.
Well, yeah. Well, they might not take care of the NDA, but then when they're redesigning something new, they might keep in mind. I don't know. They might keep in mind some of their old things that they knew, and create some close. But they're still going to be behind. It's no matter what, they're behind for sure. And you also can't make it at the scale of Samsung. So Samsung can make and sell millions and millions of these, but someone like TCL, like, good luck. So you're going to have such a smaller amount you're selling. So you're going to have to either sell them at a loss, because when you pay a factory and you pay in bulk to make all these phones, you're going to get a better price the more you do. And that's the problem. They're not going to be able to make enough to compete with Samsung. So That's
What's
tough.
TCL's thing though? Like, what do they make money on? Is it still TVs?
Primarily, yeah. They're trying to get
so,
into phones and tablets,
right.
and
So are they going to kind of become diverted by that a little bit to just start experimenting with these? How much investment could you put into a potential clunker versus what you're winning on? You know, they'd have to take some of their resources and their attention onto that. It's a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
So, do you guys think there's a market for mid-range foldables and flip phones currently?
Oh, I think so. I think it's still niche compared to regular slabs, but yeah.
So, like,
I think. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying. I think it'll take a few years because for it to be a really big thing, I think the market will be there, and Samsung is going to come out with the A54 flip or something. You know,
Yeah,
they'll come out with Snapdragon like 780 or something. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
So you'll have some mid-range Snapdragon or an Exynos chip that's 90% of the speed anyway. And I've used the A52 5G, and it was almost fast enough for me. So when you're looking at that and something that's going to appeal to a normal person, if you bring that processor to a foldable, you sell it for $750 and you make it out of you just really work on some stuff as far as cheapen some stuff up. I could easily see them selling them for $700-800 as far as Samsung goes. But I think once they get the design and the durability right, long term, like, okay, we know this isn't going to crack down the middle. We know we're not going to have these little issues. Then I think a lot of other companies, when they pick up on it and catch up, yeah, I think it's going to be huge because especially when they start to fit these bigger batteries in there too, I think it's going to take off because I was trying. I'm telling you, I hated the Motorola Razr. Hated it. Was one of the worst foldables I tried for some reason. Flippables. I just hated it. But when I was shocked. I got the Z Flip 3 and the battery was awful and I didn't care. I mean, I don't care.
Most people don't care. It's a great phone.
It's such a fun phone. I love how it's like a little more narrow and taller. It reminds me of that Motorola One Action, which a lot of you don't know, but Motorola came out with a mid-range phone that was very just tall and 21:9 aspect ratio, I think it is. And this reminds me of that. I love how it's just easy to hold still. It's easy to fit in your pocket. And I think that's going to carry over. People are going to, this is just the start of the interest. And once it got to $1,000, now it's on sale. Black Friday, there's like only flips and folds for sale. They're not really putting anything else really for sale. Walmart was only giving gift cards for all of the iPhone lineup or the Z Flip 3. And like, I think that was it. So like, it's really going to catch on as people start to see this stuff, especially at that price. They were giving like a $500 gift card, by the way, for the Z Flip 3, just for getting one on your carrier. So yeah.
I also want to hit this comment that RFK Tech USA posted. Low and mid-range equals old tech. So personally, like mid-range processors and everything are like perfectly fine with me because with like everyday performance of 90% of things, it just like flies through it. Like Snapdragon, like I had the Pixel 4a 5G for the last 8 months and it's been perfectly fine with me. The Snapdragon 765, I think.
Yep.
765.
It's perfectly fine with me, except for like the only stutters I noticed are like during video editing, and I stopped editing for my phone. So for like really intensive things like that, you'll notice the difference. But for opening up apps, scrolling, text messaging, things like that, I don't see much of a difference. I just want to hear your guys' thoughts on mid-range processors currently.
Yeah, I think mid-range processors are very mature. Like I've been on a mid-range processor for my primary device for like 3 years. I might have a flagship for like my work phone, but I always had to have call screen, So starting with the 3A or 3A XL, that's been my primary device handling, all my other work. So yeah, I don't have a problem with mid-range devices. I think the mid-range is going to change though. Now we have a company like Google that's hitting a price point that only Xiaomi and Realme
I
was hitting
agree.
before. So now I think that's going to force the mid-range to naturally have better processors.
And do you see more companies using MediaTek and Exynos processors because it is significantly cheaper, and we see it in the prices?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a combination of that.
Okay.
Samsung or Qualcomm is going to have to lower prices.
Yeah,
right?
production costs. Yeah,
To compete with MediaTek.
Yeah. Competition's getting really, really good in the mid
It's getting
range.
really good, and we are winning because of it.
Well, when I think of a normal consumer, and I really, 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 when I remember I worked at Sprint, and one of the biggest things that grinded my gears was people that, because they had a goal, they had this, I got to hit a certain amount of new lines of service and stuff. They would always throw on the free tablets. Oh, there's this free $100 Galaxy Tab for that you could throw on, and it's free. It's free. It's free. Oh, and it's $15 a month, so that's going to be like $400. And people get these bills. They get the activation fees. Like, oh my gosh, like this is just way, way too much. And you have these people throwing on, oh, you should get the newest iPhone because it's cool, and get this newest Samsung because it's cool. But practically, if we're looking out for people and their pocketbooks and what they really need and what they don't need, again, your average person who's not a tech enthusiast and anything like that. I was just talking to someone who, I think they had a Galaxy S6, they had a Galaxy J7, they had these were the phones on their family plan. They had a 5 gig Verizon plan or something, and you're thinking about them, like, what's good for them? Like, we get so caught up in tech world because we have the latest and greatest, but practically speaking, that I did not notice any difference between the Pixel 5 really and the S21. I did not notice a speed difference in the Snapdragon 765G. And once you get to that mid-range, you are not even going to notice almost any difference practically day to day. So why push people to get $700-800 phones? That's why it was 2-3 years ago that the mid-range just exploded, and everyone started buying mid-range because phones were getting up to $1,000. Like, and we have to realize, and they were spreading phones out, by the way, on bills. Remember, they used to give out free phones. They switched that to the international model of spreading them out on your bill. When people realized the deals weren't quite as good, or they didn't perceive them that way, people started going a little bit cheaper. And I guess that's the bottom line for me, is when we look at it for people, you don't need more than a mid-range processor, period. It's really just, and your average user who's in all this debt, they just need to get a mid-range phone realistically. But they're more than good enough, right? They are more than good enough for people. And I think that's why we as tech users need to do more to appreciate those and share the benefits of them, because people, all they hear, they go to a Verizon store like, oh, this phone's so cool, just buy this, it's $1,000. And sometimes there's great deals, but also sometimes the A52 or something is what they really need. So
yeah, I see like a lot of like just tech creators or techies that they call themselves in general automatically dismiss like products if it doesn't have a 800 series processor or the latest and greatest specs or whatever, when in reality, like, the average person would do perfectly fine with a 600 series processor. Like, I think that's my limit. Like, I could perfectly work with a 600 series processor and a 700 series.
Well, your average creator though, why are they creating? These smaller creators, they love tech, they're excited about tech, so they're sharing the stuff that they bought for themselves as tech enthusiasts that they enjoy. And my channel, at least personally, I'm not saying everyone has to do a channel like me, but my channel is going out. Yes, I buy stuff I'm interested in, but I try to go a little bit outside of myself and say, okay, what would be a good thing for consumers? And I compare it to things at that price. And then in my reviews, I also say, look, this device, so like the TCL Tab, the Pro 5G, right, that I'm about to review, $400, $400 tablet. Well, you can get the same specs in a $200 Lenovo tablet, right? I mean, you're going to get about the same speed and everything from that, but it won't have 5G. So I'm walking people through to say, hey, if you want a cheap tablet with 5G, this is a good option. But if you want something with similar specs, you can get a $200 tablet. I'm not just going to walk into it and say, oh, the Tab S7 is so cool. Let me buy the Tab S7 and make 10 videos on the Tab S7. And that's like your average YouTube creator. Or they'll say, oh, that iPad's so cool. Oh, it's got an M1 chip. I have to buy it. I have to buy this new $3,000 MacBook Pro and say how cool it is. When 99% of users out there are going to buy a $500 to a $1,000 laptop. You know, we have to think about them in our videos. We have to think about them in what we share, because I get a lot of tech enthusiasts watch tech content, obviously. I mean, that's a good portion of our audience, but we have to think about those other people too. Like the M1 Mac is one of the best devices for someone who wants a $1,000 laptop for video editing. They don't need the $3,000 Macs, right? And just like with phones or tablets, the Pixel 5a is going to be one of the best phones for your average consumer. At $399, it's insane. And the Pixel 6a, those are going to be the phones that I had a friend who called me. He's had his phone for 3-4 years, had a $200 Moto X4 when that was a phone. He wants to upgrade. Okay. Well, he doesn't want to spend more than $300. Like, that's a normal consumer. Like, we have to think about those people.
Well, the only issue is that those people don't know how to be a savvy consumer.
Correct.
So like they don't know to get the 1-year-old flagship.
Yes.
Or the even the 2-year-old flagship, which is still better than today's mid-ranger. Like by far.
Or even buy straight up. They're just getting like sucked into the carrier deals.
Yeah.
Most people don't even know to like buy straight up over.
And you know, like Android Digest worked at Sprint. I mean, they were pushing iPhones and Galaxies, right? So you know, they weren't really they weren't talking about anything budget. They were just like, yo, look, here's your bonuses here associated with your commissions, and we're going to focus on this model this year, and they're going to get incentives from their reps, you know, for Google or reps from Samsung, and you know, they'll put them smack dab at the front of the store and people start looking there, you know.
Yeah. That now I will say, speaking of those mid-range processors and all that, we do have to keep in mind, if it's a 1-year-old, if they buy a 1 or 2-year-old phone on eBay too, we will have to say that could be a 2-year-old battery in that, right? If it's a used device. So there are some negatives with buying older flagships, like a 2-year-old battery in it, and then you have to deal with potential replacement. There's a little more risk. So that you have to be savvy, right? With, you know, I was talking on Twitter just recently, like if you buy a device from Amazon Warehouse, for example, Amazon Warehouse is different than Amazon Warehouse is like returns. Like almost all the returns go through Amazon Warehouse. So if I go to a Tab S7 right now, they have it for $500, but Amazon Warehouse has it in like very good condition for $430. And that's going to be a device that was just returned. So it's probably only 2 weeks old. So I get there could be issues, but when you buy used, it's good to buy devices that you know haven't been used a long time. Same thing on eBay. Like if I go to buy a device on eBay, I might buy an S21 used, but you buy an S20 used or an S10, there's a good chance you're going to get an older device with a 3-year-old battery or something, right? So that's why mid-rangers are important too, because you get a newer device, like the Pixel 5a will get 3 years of updates, right? You get a newer device, a fresh battery. So there are some benefits to the mid-range. I just think we have to educate people about those.
Yes,
and I think it's a good thing.
them. Because I'll tell you, I've done both. I always, it's like, you know, flagship from last year, you know, this is the price, brand new, you know, when these deals pop up, or do you go Pixel 5a series?
Yeah. Or educate about how to get those carrier deals. Like, you know, those devices like the iPhone 12, they were given huge gift cards for the iPhone 12 at Walmart for Black Friday, for example. So you can go 1 year older, whether it's new or on eBay or Swappa. Everyone on Twitter's, I saw someone get rid of an S21 Ultra for like $600, you know, on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, people are doing that. Like, oh, new Mac, they want the new MacBook, so then they get rid of their MacBook M1s. Everyone's selling them because they want the $2,500 ones. So just going over the options with Swappa, how to buy devices that aren't super old that are used, how to get older devices. These are things to consider on our channels, right? Or even the Tab S7, like I know it's $500 now. The Tab S8 is going to come out in a couple months, and the Tab S7 will be one of the best deals out probably because a 120 hertz tablet that you don't need much more than the Snapdragon 865. So these are things we got to consider.
Yeah. I definitely want to. I wish I did see more content like about what you just said, just like how to actually like use like Swappa and different resources like that, because there are a ton of resources that will help you save your money when you're just like straight out buying devices like this.
Yeah. And you also have on Samsung, they have an educational program, educational discounts. You could use an old college email and it works. I've gotten laptops. They'll just randomly drop a laptop that's a $1,000 laptop down to like $500. And then you use something like Rakuten, get like 10% cash back on that. And then you just got a laptop for $400. That's $1,000. I got a Galaxy Chromebook that was $1,000 for like $350.
Yeah, that's great.
But people need to know about how to do these things. So that's not a bad. I actually want to make a video eventually and show people about all these little deals.
Oh, yeah, you should do it, definitely. You should definitely.
Or when you look at Best Buy, when they spread the phone out on your bill and they give you a discount, right? Sometimes they give you that discount in bill credits, which ties you to that carrier for 2 years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes they only give that discount up front, and then you could just pay off the phone right away. And that's a very difficult thing to determine. Sometimes it's bill credits, sometimes it's not. But if you do it the other way, you could pay it off, upgrade again 2 weeks later. So you got to get creative.
Yeah, for sure.
I see Ethan's comment down here with the stigma around the carrier store employees. There's a lot of genuine people out there. So Ethan, fun fact. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ike's Tech Talk, but I contacted him right away when this happened. So so we both are here in Orlando, and when the Pixel 6 came out, there was a fiasco with Best Buy. So my Pro wasn't at the store like they said it would be. So I ended up demanding they give me the one phone they had, which was a 6. So I bought that. Then I think a couple of days, I actually went to Verizon to see if they had a 6 Pro and would have gotten one if I'd have went there first. If I had known Best Buy was going to do that, they're like, oh, we just sold 100 of these today, non-pre-order. I'm like, great. So I went there the next couple of days, a couple of days later, to get a case because I wasn't planning on getting the Pixel 6. I had all the accessories, and all the accessories for my Pixel 6 were coming with my wife's Pixel 6 that hadn't shipped yet from Google. So I go to Verizon to get a case, and I meet this worker there, Kim, and she's like, so am I selling you a Pixel 6 today? I'm like, no, I pulled out my Pixel 6. She goes, oh, okay. What do you need? It's like, as you can see, I don't have a case. She goes, oh, I got cases and all that stuff. And she goes, by the way, I have sold all my Samsung customers on the Pixel 6. She was telling me her numbers, how many she's been selling. And she just tells them all. She's like, this is how much you're paying. And she will ask you, are you using these features like DeX and all that stuff? And they're like, no, I don't even know what that is. All right, well, guess what? Time for you to upgrade. You're buying the $600 Pixel 6. So she could be doing the opposite. Like, can I interest you into an Apple or, a Samsung, but she's like, hey, we're selling these Pixel 6s.
Yeah. It's really good to have like educated carrier workers. Really good to have that, especially like they like form a relationship with you. It's really good to have. I wish more carrier phone employees were like that.
Yeah.
And I think corporate ones are a little better. Corporate employees.
Yes.
I work for corporate Sprint
stores. I only go to the corporate stores. I don't go to
I worked for corporate. I worked for a third party and then corporate. And corporate, they really didn't have as many incentives to sell certain phones. They just purely went off activations and upgrades and things like that. And they had an occasional bonus for, selling tablets or things, but it was a little bit more mellow. But I interviewed at some other third parties as well, and they would give you more money for selling certain brands sometimes too. So I interviewed with a Verizon store, and they would give you like twice as much for selling certain phones. So their whole commission system was based around what phones you sold and what you did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Of course.
I know. Yeah, Kimmy's like, yeah, of course her name's Kim. That's funny.
Okay, that's about it on the comments. Okay. I wish I could say I had one experience like that. I don't think I have either. Yeah, I don't think I've had an experience like that with. I had Sprint before, and then I went to AT&T. I had Sprint, Boost, and then AT&T. So those are the three carriers that I've had, and like none of them really, I could tell, like knew more about tech than I did.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's. I've been.
See, I used to work at that store on Kings Highway in Chippewa in St. Louis. So,
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I know you're around the St. Louis area again. So yeah, I used to work up there a little bit. I lived up there a few years. So
yeah, pretty much all of them have fully converted to T-Mobile now. So yeah, well, small world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Zach only lives a few hours away from me, Barry. Like,
okay.
Well, yeah, like he almost sold me one of his Xbox Series S. Yeah, we're gonna like in between because I'm trying to get rid of my X.
Okay.
Well, that's already gone because I already bought an X and I already got rid of my S now.
So why are you trying to get rid of your X?
I just don't need the power. The only reason I bought an X, like
you thought you were gonna get like a 4K display to put it on, or?
Well, so when I first bought it, I played 2K mainly. I played 2K, the 2K series mainly. And when I bought the S, 2K was having issues with one of the game modes that I play the most, called Pro Am, which is like full 5v5s. Like I was playing in a league at the time. I was playing super competitive, and there was an issue with like load times or whatever because the X and S had like different load times. The S's were never able to get in. They would prioritize the people with the Series X, so they'd be able to get in. You could never play with more than 2 Series S's. So that's the reason why I sold my the first S that I bought and then got an X. And now I don't need that anymore because 2K fixed that issue, and I only play 2 games, so I don't need a lot of storage.
Okay, so you're good.
Yeah, that makes sense. I got the X. I sold the X for a different reason, but similar. I was like, I don't need the power. I could use the $200. I sold it for a little bit of a profit, bought the S. I thought I was good. And then the S is weird because sometimes they'll play games at 1440p, but sometimes they'll only play them at 1080, even if they're optimized for the S. So a lot of games I expected to play at 1440 were playing at 1080. And I thought they looked blurry. Like I was shocked at the difference that I didn't expect. I didn't expect it to be such a difference. So I ended up going back because I experienced the 4K jump, and I for some reason I was expecting it to be comparable because I'm not too picky. I don't need a 4K phone. Like 1080p is fine. The Pixel 6 is fine. I don't need the Pixel 6 Pro screen.
But when it's on a big screen, I see. Yeah. Exactly. Now, here's my question. Now, would it ever be a situation where Zach, would go, I play this game at 1440p like Monday through Tuesday. Now it's Friday and it's going to 1080p. Would that ever happen? Or it was just okay? So I could probably live and work around that. Okay.
Yeah, it was consistent. The thing is, some games play at 1440p. Something like Gears of War will play like 1440p, 120 frames per second. And some games will support ray tracing, some won't. Some that maybe support ray tracing won't support 1440p. Like, it's give and take with every game. And some of them, I think it's just development, because some of them are going to prioritize the X. So naturally, the S might just, they could go to 1440p if they really tried, but it's going to take some hardcore development. So some of them just go 1080 and call it a day, and just make sure it plays smooth. So that's the only thing. There was just one game that I played that I really liked. So it's sort of a corny game, but I was playing Dead by Daylight.
Oh yeah, that's a good game. I like that game.
Yeah, because it's fun when you're playing with 3 or 4 friends trying to like run from a killer who's trying to kill you. Yeah. So there's just something fun about it when you get used to all the mechanics, and it takes a while to get into it. So I hated it first, grew to really like it, and I play 2K, same thing. 2K looked, certain courts just looked odd and blurry to me. Certain courts, the lighting wasn't right. Yeah. Second, I went back to 4K. It's a lot better. So it's a hard. I don't know if you need it as much. Like you said, you don't use a lot of storage and stuff like that. I didn't need it, and I realized 2K wasn't as big of a jump to 4K as I thought. But the Dead by Daylight game was. It was a huge difference. So it all depends on the game, right? Gears of War looked amazing on both.
Yeah, I had a friend who just recently he bought the Series S like 2 weeks ago. Within 3 to 4 days, just because the games he had were like all blurry, and he could tell like the resolution was lower, he got rid of it super quickly, like within 2 to 3 days, and went right back to his Xbox One.
Now, what size television do you play yours on, Zach?
I play on a 55.
What about you, Galen?
I have a 27-inch monitor.
Oh, so you?
So that's a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that could.
That makes the same. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a difference. So I like both. I mean, for $300, you can't get a gaming PC anywhere close to that for $300. I mean, you could barely get a good video card for $300. So to get all that, it's incredible, and the storage is fine. Like, just get a hard drive on the side. It doesn't even have to be approved. You could dump some games on and just dump them back if you need to. But I'm only going to play 4 or 5 games myself. It's not a huge thing. It's just about long-term 120 hertz. You need 120 hertz TV and 4K. Those TVs are like $1,000. So yeah, those people for sure should get the X. The people who have, I don't know, the people who don't have 120 hertz, it just depends on the games you play and how much storage you need. If you don't need the storage, a lot of those people should probably get the S. But I can't remember. I think my Xbox One X had better graphics than the Xbox One S.
Oh, 100%.
Or the Series S, sorry. The Series S.
My friend,
because the One X, it had the key though is it had a slower hard drive. So the SSD is so quick for load times. So the Series S has amazing load times, but it might not look as good as the One X. Right. So that's why I went from a One X to the Series X, and then I went to the Series S and saw the blurry games, and I was like, okay, it's not like my One X or my Series X. So, but the load times for people who have a Series or a regular Xbox One S or a regular Xbox One, that's going to be a nice upgrade for them because they're going to get the load times and all that, and they're going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. The X's are still impossible to buy. I actually see like Series S's in store regularly now, which is nice. So I might pick up something and sell my X.
Well, if you can also if you might check out the game list and you might have a really good experience with the S. As far as like you won't even have an issue depending on the game, right? So
yeah, exactly. Like I had the S before, I had no issues with the graphics because like I'm on a 27-inch monitor, but I just needed it because the game mode wasn't working with that. So I have too much power right now, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I wonder how fast like those PS5s went out yesterday.
Oh, I'm sure it was 2 seconds.
It went out. Yeah, like 30 seconds at like max, 30 seconds max.
Yeah, I admit, okay, I'll go on there occasionally and be like, I wonder if I could scalp one of these and just buy one and resell it really fast. And because you never know, I'm not trying to be a scalper, but if I can make a little profit on something, if I get lucky, but even if it's not a lot, maybe I make $50 and
He said he had like 14 Xboxes. I was reading his Twitter the other day. He's usually like in these live streams. Like,
oh yeah, Big Mosley, definitely.
Big Mosley. He said he had like 14 Xboxes and 6 PlayStation.
Big Mosley's in these streams.
Yeah.
Every time I see Big Mosley, man, I just see his picture on Twitter, and I'm like, this dude just loves having a good time, and he loves eating his wings.
That's too funny. Now, question for you guys, as you're both Xbox people, the user interface compared to the old series, how would you rate it?
So between there isn't a difference at all between the Xbox One and the series, like the series.
Oh, really? It's pretty much the same. Okay,
it's pretty much the same.
Okay.
It wasn't. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it wasn't anything like super noticeable in terms of UI.
Okay.
Yeah, the UI is similar. It's just the way I see the debate too. On a side note, between PS5 and Xbox, I think has the better long term, and people are going to disagree because, okay, I don't want to sound prideful and arrogant, but I feel like they're a hater if they don't see the reality of this. I think PS5 has more exclusives.
Oh, definitely.
I think Xbox has the better long-term play because not only will I think they'll catch up on some of the exclusives, but Game Pass is revolutionary.
Game Pass is ridiculous.
I mean, I don't buy games.
Yeah.
Like I don't.
My son did not want Game Pass, and I was like, "Guess what? You're getting Game Pass." And he was like, just a few months ago, I was like, "No, you're getting." And he was playing. This is like a few weeks ago. He was playing basketball with one of his friends, but / former teammates, and the first thing that he said when he got in the car, he goes, "Oh, he's like, Dad, can I buy?" I forget which game it was, and I'm looking at him like he's crazy because I'm like, And before I say anything, his friend is like, "It's on Game Pass. It's downloaded when you get home. I told you that." He goes, "Oh, really? That's what you said?" Yes, it's on Game Pass. It's like we don't have to buy anything, pretty much. I mean, there are things that they have to buy, but most of the stuff that they want to play, they don't have to buy because it's on.
Yeah. So I played like there's 2 or 3 games that I really like to play. Almost all of them are normally on Game. At least half of them are on Game Pass. And if they're not, you might just get interested. Even like NBA 2K goes on Game Pass, like towards the playoffs and stuff, and it has EA Access now, like that got built into that.
EA Access is huge,
and that's monstrous because you get to play games before they launch. You'll get to play Madden like a week before launch for 10 hours, and lately I've only played Madden for about 10 hours, so I get to play with friends. Yeah, it's free game rentals, So, and then you get something like Gears of War completely free. Like you get all these other older EA games for free. So and then you got the game streaming, which if you try the Game Pass game streaming and you try it on a good internet connection, it's almost seamless.
Oh yeah, I've done it because so he's got it, but I'll log in like from somewhere else, and yeah, it's pretty good.
So you factor that in, like it's the future in my opinion, because you already have the infrastructure there for the awesome little Netflix for games, which I think is a big thing for the future. But then you also have the streaming. So I feel like Xbox is sort of the future, and I think it has a good infrastructure. PS5 has more right now exclusives.
Correct.
But for someone who's cost sensitive, you're going to have to buy 60, 70 instead of what's on Game Pass, 30, yeah, this is free.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it.
I like the portable gaming modes too, where you're like able to access it from your phone or tablet as well.
Yep, I use that.
I definitely went on a road trip. Like my girlfriend usually does the driving, so I was in the passenger seat on my 12.9-inch iPad Pro and just playing Madden most of the trip. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, exactly. It's a huge bonus for people.
Oh, look at LaShawn. What about PlayStation Plus?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with that yet.
People, look, I get people want to justify their purchasing decisions. You know, you get a PlayStation, you're going to see Game Pass and say, well, PlayStation has something similar. You know, they have the game, they have some form of game streaming, but it's not even close. And the game library on their form of Game Pass is not even close, and it's also not bundled in the same way either. So there's a lot of reasons why it's not close to as good. And they, from what I've read, I've done a little research, like they don't have the infrastructure to build something quite as expansive. Or with game streaming, they don't have the servers to do quite what Xbox can do with the game streaming. So that's just something they're going to be a little bit behind in. And then they're going to have to buy that from like all those servers from Amazon or something. They're going to have to, you know, catch up a little bit.
Yep. Agreed. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this stream up. We've been going for around 2 hours now.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on as always, Galen.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, I appreciate you guys for joining. Thanks for joining, Zach. This is his first time on the stream. Barry's a veteran by now, but
veteran.
Still appreciate you. And thanks everyone who's still in here for watching. And hopefully we'll meet again next week.
All right.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.